Preparing for a major update can be crucial in not breaking your account. So in today's video, I'll be sharing things you can do right now to prepare for version 3.0. I will talk about the upcoming meta, which of our current characters you can build for it, and other small but key things that can help you get the best start for 3.0. Hi, my name is Spade, and welcome to my little escapade. So we already know that Remembrance is the new playable path for characters, and from the livestream, this path is centered around summons. So much for my Jingliu theory. Anyway, each summon has their own specialty, so at least we can expect some diversity in their kits. They are also treated as teammates and therefore receive certain buffs like shields in this example. Knowing this, here are some of our current characters that you can build that will benefit the new meta. Starting with the example, sustainers such as Aventurine in this case will increase the survivability of these summons. Since it seems like they have their own HP, I'm expecting them to be squishier than normal characters. Unless their specialty is to tank hits, which leads to a whole nother thing, but I'll save that for another time. Next we of course have supports such as Sunday, Robin, and maybe Sparkle. Sunday is an obvious choice as he'll buff and advance these summons as well. For Robin and Sparkle, even if they can't directly buff or advance summons, it'll still be useful for the summoner. I'm sure they can advance their own summons or have some link between them. Ronmei could still see some use. I'm just not sure if increased toughness reduction or speed buff applies to the summons as well. Debuffers such as Pella are a given since they target enemies and not allies. As for DPSs, March 7th, Moza, and Fei Xiao come to mind. All of them are able to take action whenever a targeted or any ally attacks an enemy. I tested this out with Lingxia's Wabbits since they're considered as summons, and when they took action, March still considered them as part of Lingxia and triggered her talent. Whether future summons count as separate teammates or part of the summoner, we'll have to wait and see. Either way, they'll have to update the skill info. Fei Xiao took action as well, but I haven't tested this out with Moza yet. I assume it works the same, just need to stack up his points. Before we continue, I would really appreciate it if you like this video as it helps me out a lot. And subscribe to my channel to see more Honkai Star Rail content such as this one. Also, comment down below your thoughts on Remembrance and which characters are your favorites. To be honest, a lot of them look really good, but if I had to pick my top 3, it would be Aglaya, Maide, and Castoris. Alright, back to the video. Now that we have covered the Remembrance Path and which of our current characters you can build for it, I'll share some other things that I recommend you do to have the best start in 3.0. I would recommend you to save up your standard passes. More likely than not, they will add Remembrance characters as well as some light cones to the pool. Whether they'll add a standard 5-star Remembrance character in 3.0, I don't know. But it's best to start saving up. This brings us to my next suggestion. Don't use your standard 5-star selector just yet. It's most likely a permanent item, and if it isn't, we know it will stay till at least the end of 3.2 as that's the duration of when you can claim it. I'm sure by that time, they would have added a standard 5-star Remembrance character. Start saving up your Herda bonds as well. Same situation with the standard banner, they'll most likely add a 5-star Remembrance light cone in the Herda store. Now, if we move on to the light cone manifest store, let me just find it. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. So same thing with the Herda store. They most likely add Remembrance light cones in there too. So save up your Lucent Afterglows. These thingies here. Now, unless you're farming for Sunday or Fugue, I would recommend you to save up your Trailblaze fuel. We will be having new materials and relic sets in 3.0. So if you want to start farming day 1, then having a ton of fuel would definitely help. Segueing to Trailblaze power, let me just find it. Okay, here. Segueing into this one, if you aren't building any characters, then my suggestion would be to stop using it. This will build up your reserves here, and if you start saving at the start of 2.7, you'll be able to max out at 2,400 in reserves. This will give you a ton of Trailblaze power to farm. Lastly, if your name is Patrick and haven't already heard the most game-changing news, we will have the ability to choose our substats and reroll our stat distribution. Now, if we take a look at our developer radio right here, it shows that in version 3.0, we will be able to get this item called a wishful resin that will allow us to customize our substats in our body, feet, sphere, and link rope. Now moving down here, it shows us the number of items consumed based on which one we choose. So no matter which one we choose, we will always need one self-modeling resin. Now if you want to choose one substat, you will be cost 1 wishful resin. If you want to choose 2, that will cost you 4. So it really ramped up there. So this means that this is a really expensive option, but nonetheless, it is a good thing that we have this option to customize our relics. I'm losing my voice. Okay, so it just shows us like how it would look like when we're doing it. So it's pretty neat. And how we can obtain this is through the Nameless Honor, which is the battle pass. When we reach a certain level, we will be able to get it for free. And if we purchase the Nameless Glory, we can get an additional one. So good news for those who purchase the battle pass. Now with other methods, we can synthesize this. You can consume 800 relic remains to form 1 wishful resin. So I will tackle this 800 relic remains later on. But that means, we can at least use this method, and 2 can be synthesized at most. Now, I'm not sure what they mean by that, whether it's at most at a time or at most during a certain period. So if we move to the exchange rate, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. So if you want to use the self-modeling resin, it is a 1-to-1 exchange, and you can do this up to 3 times every month. So like I said earlier, I'm not sure what they mean by this part, whether it is at a time or exchanged every month. But yeah, for this one, self-modeling resin, honestly, that's really expensive. It is a very valuable resource. So unless you have an excess amount of it, I wouldn't really recommend to use the self-modeling resin. But if you have, enough to spare, then by all means, go ahead. And we can also obtain these through events, so that is also good to know. Moving on to the reroll function, we will be able to obtain this item called a variable die that will allow us to reroll 5-star relics at level 15. So we have to max out our 5-star relic. Now, as you can see here, it's a good thing they showed us an example. All of the substats here are the same, and the number of rolls that we have on the stats are also the same. So that means that, it cannot change any substats, you cannot change the number of rolls that you already have. Now, regardless of what result you decide to keep, this tells me that we can either choose our original substats, the original rolls that we had, or the new one with the variable die. But it will always cost you the variable die, so just keep that in mind. Now, one thing that you can do here, one recommendation that I have, is if you have a level 0 5-star relic that already has 4 substats, and hopefully all 4 of them you'd want, then when you roll them, when you max them out to level 15, you will have 5 rolls. So if it doesn't go the way you want, then you can use this to your advantage to maximize your relic. So how we can obtain this is through synthesis again. You can consume 3 self-modeling resin to synthesize 1 variable die. Again, that is really expensive, but we can do this as many times as we want. So it is it's a good thing that we have that option despite it being really expensive. Now we can also get this through purchasing the Nameless Glory. So sadly, we cannot get this for free in the Battle Pass. Now if we move down here, enhanced relics can be salvaged as well. So any maxed out relics, no matter the rarity, whether it's 2, 3, 4, or 5, we will be able to convert them to lost gold fragments or other materials. But any 5-star relic that is maxed out, we can have the option to convert them to 400 relic remains. So this is really good because that is a lot of relic remains. And like we tackled earlier, the 800 relic remains here, at least, you know, if we already have spare maxed out relics that we are not using, we can just convert them to get our synthesis, to get our wishful resin. So it is good that we have that option. And it shows us, and it doesn't state how many times we can do this. So in my guess, we can do this for, you know, an infinite amount of times. And yeah, that is about it for this, what's it called? Developer radio. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was able to share with you all some insight on how you can prepare for version 3.0 and the new quality of life features that come with it. I'm really excited to see what Amphorius and the Remembrance Path has to offer. You know, so many questions and theories come to my mind, like if we can have multiple summons at once and how they'll synergize with other paths. As always, I would really appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm out of breath, so bye!